All right, stop whatever you're doing because we're about to flip your understanding of reality upside down. Let me ask you something. What if the universe itself is alive? No, I'm not talking about stars blinking or black holes eating everything in sight. I mean alive in the sense that it remembers, evolves, and maybe even thinks. That's the idea behind Rupert Sheldrake's groundbreaking concept called morphic resonance. Sound wild? It gets crazier. Here's the deal. Sheldrake, a biologist, believes that nature has a kind of memory. Think about how you remember how to ride a bike. You don't consciously calculate every movement, right? You just know. Now zoom out. What if the entire universe works the same way? Every crystal that forms, every bird that migrates, every human behavior, it all builds on a memory of what's come before. It's like a cosmic Google Drive, except the storage is infinite and the data influences everything. Let that sink in for a second. But let's get practical. What does this mean for you? Here's an example. Sheldrake found evidence that newly synthesized chemical compounds become easier to crystallize over time. Why? According to traditional chemistry, it shouldn't happen. But in his experiments, he discovered that once a crystal structure forms, it gets easier for the same type of crystal to form again, even in labs on the other side of the planet. Chemists shrug this off as contamination or coincidence. Sheldrake says, nope, it's a memory. The crystals remember how to crystallize now. Think bigger. If crystals can remember, what about animals? Plants? Humans? Here's where it gets personal. Sheldrake's research suggests that your brain isn't the only place your mind exists. When you think, feel, or even dream, those experiences might not be locked inside your skull. Instead, your consciousness could stretch beyond your brain, connecting you to people, nature, and get this, the universe itself.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Let's break this down in a way that hits home. Have you ever thought about someone and then they called you? Or maybe your dog seems to know you're coming home before you even open the door. For decades, this was dismissed as coincidence or wishful thinking. But Sheldrake actually tested it. In his experiments, people correctly predicted who was calling them on the phone way more than chance would allow. And dogs. They were filmed waiting by the door for their owners at random times, not because of sound or routine, but because they somehow knew. Think about that for a second. What if your dog isn't just loyal but also telepathic? What if your thoughts aren't just floating inside your head but reaching out into the world, connecting with others? And what if the universe itself is doing the same thing? It raises a massive question. Are you part of something far bigger than what you've been taught to believe? But hold up, this isn't just about dogs and phone calls. Sheldrake's ideas challenge everything we think we know about science. For example, most of us were taught that the laws of nature are fixed. Gravity always pulls. Atoms always behave the same. But Sheldrake says, not so fast. What if these so-called laws are more like habits? What if they evolved over time, just like animals and plants? Here's a mind-bender. According to Sheldrake, the universe isn't ruled by unchangeable laws handed down from some cosmic authority. Instead, it's constantly learning and adapting, just like you. When a new pattern emerges, whether it's a crystal, a behavior, or even a thought, it gets easier for that pattern to repeat. It's like the universe is practicing, refining itself, and getting better over time. So, here's a question for you. If the universe has memory, what memories are you leaving behind? Are your thoughts and actions shaping reality in ways you can't even see? And if they are, what kind of world are you helping to create? Stick around because in part 2, we're going to blow your mind even more. Ready for this? The universe might not just remember, it might actually have intentions. All right, here we go. In part 1, we talked about how the universe might have memory. But memory is just the start. Let's kick it up a notch. What if the universe isn't just remembering but actually evolving with a purpose? And what if that purpose involves you? Here's the thing, most of us grew up with the idea that evolution is random. Genes mutate, nature selects the strongest, and boom, life moves forward. But Sheldrake flips this on its head. He argues that evolution isn't blind. It's not just a roll of the dice. Instead, it's guided by something deeper, a cosmic drive toward creativity, diversity, and maybe even meaning. Let's get real. When you look at the natural world, do you see randomness? Or do you see purpose? Think about the migration of birds. Every year, thousands of species travel thousands of miles, often to places they've never been before. How do they know where to go? Genes, instinct. Sure, that's the textbook answer. But Sheldrake suggests something more profound. Birds might be tapping into a collective memory. Each generation learns from the ones before, not just through genetics but through a shared field of knowledge. He calls this morphic resonance. Now let's bring it back to you. If birds can access a collective memory, what about humans? Sheldrake believes that human cultures, too, are shaped by morphic resonance. Traditions, languages, even art, they're not just passed down physically. They're part of a shared memory field that connects us all. Think about that. Every time you learn something new or create something original, you're adding to this field. You're contributing to the evolution of humanity itself. But here's where it gets wild. If evolution isn't random, does that mean it's intentional? Does the universe have a goal? Sheldrake doesn't claim to have all the answers, but he raises some big questions. For example, why does life seem so creative? Why does nature constantly push toward diversity and innovation? From a materialist perspective, there's no reason for this. But if the universe is conscious, or at least connected, then creativity might be baked into its very fabric. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine the universe as a giant artist, constantly experimenting, learning, and growing. Every star, every animal, every human is part of this cosmic masterpiece. And here's the kicker: if the universe is creating, then you're not just a spectator. You're part of the process. Your thoughts, actions, and even emotions might be shaping the future in ways you can't even imagine. Now let's get personal. Have you ever felt like your life has a purpose? Like you're here for a reason? If Sheldrake is right, that feeling might not just be wishful thinking. It could be the universe itself, nudging you toward your role in its evolution. So the real question is, are you listening? In part 3, we're going to tackle the biggest question of all. If the universe is conscious, what does that mean for the future of humanity? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? All right, let's bring it all together. We've talked about the universe having memory and maybe even purpose. But here's the ultimate question: if the universe is conscious, what does that mean for us? And what does it mean for you? Let's start with something you already know but might not have thought about deeply. Consciousness. It's the one thing none of us can deny. You're experiencing it right now. But here's the catch: science has no idea where consciousness comes from. Is it just neurons firing in your brain? Or is it something bigger, something that connects us all? Sheldrake argues for the second option. He believes consciousness isn't locked inside your head. Instead, it's part of the universe itself. In other words, your mind is like a radio, tuning into a frequency that's already out there. And guess what? That frequency might be the same one that shapes the stars, guides evolution, and remembers everything. Now, let's get practical. If your consciousness is connected to the universe, then your thoughts might have more power than you think. Ever heard of the saying, "You create your own reality"? Well, according to Sheldrake, that might not just be a self-help cliche. It could be a literal truth. Your intentions, beliefs, and actions could be shaping not just your life but the world around you. But here's the twist: if you're part of the universe's consciousness, then the universe is also part of yours. That means you're not alone. Ever feel a deep sense of connection during a moment of awe? Like when you're staring at the stars or listening to your favorite song. That's not just a feeling. It's the universe reminding you of your place in the bigger picture. So, here's the final question: if the universe is conscious, what kind of relationship do you want to have with it? Are you going to ignore it, live your life on autopilot, and let the world shape you? Or are you going to engage with it, co-create with it, and leave a mark that echoes through time? The choice is yours. And trust me, it's a big one. Because if Sheldrake is right, then every thought, every action, and every moment of your life matters. Not just to you, but to the entire universe. So what are you going to do about it? That's where we'll leave it. But this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. The conscious universe is watching, and it's waiting for you to wake up. All right, let's keep this going, because we're not done yet. If the universe is conscious, if it remembers, evolves, and even connects with us, then we have to ask the next big question: what does it want? And maybe more importantly, what do you want out of your relationship with it? Let's take a step back. So far, we've been talking about Rupert Sheldrake's idea that the universe has memory through something he calls morphic resonance. This means that patterns from the way crystals form to how birds migrate to how humans think and act aren't just random. They're part of a shared memory field. And here's the kicker: this memory isn't static. It's alive, constantly evolving, and shaping the future. But if the universe is evolving, then it's heading somewhere, right? And this is where things get really interesting. Sheldrake suggests that evolution isn't just about survival or reproduction like the textbooks say. It's about creativity. It's about exploring possibilities, trying new things, and discovering what works. In other words, the universe isn't just a machine, it's an artist. Think about that for a second. If the universe is creative, then creativity isn't just something humans do. It's part of the fabric of reality. Every time a new species emerges, every time a new crystal forms, every time you have a new idea, it's all part of the same process. The universe is experimenting, learning, and expressing itself. And guess what? You're one of its experiments, but you're also an experimenter. So here's a deep question for you: if you're part of this creative universe, what are you creating? Are you just following patterns that already exist, doing what everyone else is doing, thinking what everyone else is thinking? Or are you breaking new ground, trying new things, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible? Because if the universe is watching, and Sheldrake believes it is, then every creative act you make adds to its memory. You're not just living in the universe, you're co-creating it. But wait, it gets even deeper. Because if the universe is conscious and creative, then it might also be responsive. In other words, it might not just passively observe what you're doing. It might actively participate. Have you ever had one of those moments where everything just clicks? Like the universe is conspiring to help you? Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's the universe responding to your actions, your thoughts, and your intentions. Let's get practical again. How do you engage with a conscious universe? How do you co-create with it? Here's one way to think about it. If the universe has memory, then every action you take is like planting a seed. Some seeds grow into habits, some grow into relationships, and some, if you're lucky, grow into revolutions. But here's the catch: you have to choose what seeds to plant. You can't just sit back and hope for the best. You have to take responsibility for your role in the universe's evolution. And this isn't just about you. Remember, if morphic resonance is real, then your actions don't just affect your life. They affect everyone and everything around you. Every time you try something new, learn something, or create something, you're adding to the universe's shared memory. You're making it easier for others to do the same. Think about that. Your courage to try something new today could make it easier for someone on the other side of the world, or even the other side of the galaxy, to do the same tomorrow. But let's flip the script for a second. If the universe is conscious and connected, then it's not just about what you can give to it. It's also about what it can give to you. Here's a crazy idea. What if the universe isn't just a stage for your life, but also a partner in your growth? What if it's constantly offering you opportunities to evolve, learn, and create if you're willing to pay attention? Here's an exercise for you. The next time something unexpected happens, good or bad, ask yourself, what is the universe trying to teach me? What's the opportunity here? It might sound a little out there, but think about it. If the universe is alive, then every moment is a chance to connect with it, to learn from it, and to grow with it. So are you paying attention? Now, let's talk about the future. If Sheldrake's ideas are even partially correct, then the implications are massive. For one, it means that science as we know it needs a serious upgrade. Right now, most scientists operate under the assumption that the universe is a machine governed by fixed laws. But if the universe is alive, then it's not a machine. It's more like a living organism, and that changes everything. For example, take medicine. If the universe has memory, then healing might not just be about fixing broken parts. It might be about reconnecting to a field of health and wholeness that already exists. Or take education. If we're all connected through a shared field of memory, then learning isn't just about cramming facts into your brain. It's about tapping into a collective intelligence that's been building for billions of years. And what about technology? If the universe is conscious, then AI and machines aren't just tools. They're part of the same evolutionary process that created life, consciousness, and creativity. The question is, how do we use them? Do we let them control us, or do we use them to enhance our connection to the universe? But here's the most mind-blowing implication of all. If the universe is conscious, then death might not be the end. Think about it. If your mind isn't confined to your brain, then what happens to it when your brain stops working? Does it dissolve? Or does it merge back into the universal consciousness it came from? Sheldrake doesn't claim to have the answers, but his research opens the door to possibilities that most scientists won't even consider. So here's where we're at. If the universe is conscious, if it remembers, evolves, and connects, then you're not just a passenger on this cosmic journey. You're an active participant. Your thoughts, actions, and creations matter not just to you, but to the entire universe. And if that's true, then the biggest question you can ask yourself is this: what kind of universe do you want to create? Let's wrap this up with one final thought. Whether you believe in Sheldrake's ideas or not, they challenge us to see the world and ourselves in a new way. They remind us that we're not isolated, disconnected beings. We're part of something vast, mysterious, and alive. And that's not just a scientific idea, it's a call to action. So here's my challenge to you: start living like the universe is conscious. Start acting like your thoughts and actions matter. Start creating like the future depends on it, because maybe it does. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, the universe will respond. Thanks for watching, and remember, the conscious universe isn't just out there. It's in here too. What are you going to do with it?